June 4th, 1944, 11:09 hours, Atlantic Ocean. Coordinates 2130 NA 1920. Approximately 150 nautical miles off the coast of Rio de Janeiro. The sea was calm under a clear sky, but tension crackled across the radio nets of Task Group 22.3 aboard the escort carrier USS Guadalcanal. Captain Daniel V. Gallery paced the bridge, eyes fixed on the horizon. His hunter-killer Group 5 destroyer escorts and his flat top had been patrolling these waters for weeks, chasing shadows in the endless blue. Then, at 11:09, the destroyer escort USS Chatelaine reported sonar contact, a submerged contact, close, aggressive. Galler ordered aircraft launched. 2 Grumman Wildcat fighters and ATBM Avenger torpedo bombers streaked off the deck. They contact Ataipex, say U-boat, under Overlieutenant Sursi Harold Langa, returning from patrol off the Gold Coast of Africa. Her crew of 58 men had no idea the hunters had become the hunt. What if, instead of sending the U-boat to the bottom with depth charges, one man decided to take it intact? What if boarding a flooding, scuttled submarine rigged with explosives, something the US Navy had not done to an enemy vessel in 129? Years became possible through sheer audacity and split-second timing. This wasn't fantasy. It happened that Sunday morning, as depth charges forced U-505 to the surface, her hull cracked, water pouring in. Demolition charges set to blow. Langer ordered abandoned ship. The crew leaped into the sea, some wounded, most in shock. But Galler saw opportunity where others saw only a sinking target. He radioed the order: board her, save her, seize her secrets. Lieutenant Albert David, executive officer of USS Pillsbury, led an 8-man boarding party. They jumped from a whaleboat onto the circling, listing U-boat air engines still running, propellers churning foam, seacocks open, water flooding compartments. Smoke rose from hatches. The threat of explosion hung in the air. David and his men, armed with Tommy guns, pistols, hand grenades, dropped onto the tilting deck, boots slipping on wet steel. They cleared the conning tower, descended ladders into the dim, red-lit interior. Alarms, blood, water, sloshed, ankle deep. One man found the demolition charge, timer seconds ticking, and yanked wires to disarm it. Others sealed valves, plugged leaks with rags and tools scavenged on the spot. Potable pumps from the destroyer escorts roared to life, sucking water out. The sub stabilized, engines cut. In minutes, what had been a doomed vessel became a prize. Inside, the Americans discovered what Gallery had hoped for: an intact Enigma cipher machine with current rotors, stacks of code books, signal books, charts marked with Wolfpack positions, and 2 acoustic homing torpedoes, G7Es T5 Zong-Kunik models. Secret weapons designed to home on propeller noise, a technology still new and deadly effective against escorts. These were Hitler's vaunted wonder weapons for the Atlantic, meant to turn the tide against Allied convoys. The capture yielded over 900 pounds of classified documents to deepen understanding of German naval codes and torpedo guidance systems. The boarding party worked under constant risk. The sub could sink, explode, or drift into range of other U-boats. But the tow lines were passed. Guadalcanal's crew watched in awe as the 252-foot steel cigar was secured. The 58 German survivors, 3 wounded, were pulled from the water, blindfolded to prevent them signaling, and interned in secrecy. No shots fired in anger during the boarding. The fight had been against time, water, and scuttling charges. This single act, boarding and saving a scuttled U-boat, changed the intelligence picture in the Atlantic. But to grasp why it mattered so deeply, why the Navy went to extraordinary lengths to hide it, we must look at the broader war. The Battle of the Atlantic, the struggle for code supremacy, and the desperate German efforts to regain the initiative before the invasion of Europe loomed. The Battle of the Atlantic, raging since 1939, was the longest continuous campaign of World War II. German U-boats enter sea. Boot sank over 3,500 Allied merchant ships, claiming more than 14 million tons of shipping and tens of thousands of lives. By 1943, Allied countermeasures improved radar, escort carriers, long-range aircraft, Hedgehog mortar, and code-breaking at Bletchley Park had turned the tide. U-boat losses mounted. Black May 1943 saw 43 sunk in 1 month. Admiral Karl Donitz's Wolfpack struggled against hunter-killer groups like Gallerist Task Group 22.3. Capturing an intact U-boat offered priceless intelligence. Previous captures were rare. British forces had boarded damaged subs for cipher materials, but never taken one fully operational at sea. The Enigma machine, Germany's primary encryption device, evolved constantly. New rotors, weather short signals, and naval shark keys. Challenge crypt. Seizing current codebooks could unlock fresh traffic, revealing U-boat positions, orders, and technical details. U-505 commissioned August 26, 1941, had a mixed record. 8 patrols, 8 ships sunk, totaling 44,962 tons. By 1944, under Lange, she patrolled West African waters, hunting Type IX boats like her were long-range workhorses. 76-meter length, 1,120 tons surfaced, diesel-electric propulsion, 6 bow torpedo tubes, deck gun later removed on many. Crew of 48 to 56. Armament included torpedo standard G7A, G7E, plus advanced acoustic models. Gallery, a Chicago native and experienced aviator, commanded Guadalcanal since 1943. His group pioneered hunter-killer tactics. Carrier-based aircraft scouted. Destroyers attacked with depth charges and hedgehogs. After sinking U-515 in April 1944, crew rescued before gallery trained boarding parties, grappling hooks, pumps, tools for the chance to take one alive. The capture's timing, 2 days before D-Day, June 6th, made secrecy vital. If Germany learned of it, they might alter Enigma procedures, blinding Allied intelligence at a critical moment. The Navy classified the event top secret. Crew sworn to silence. Prisoners isolated at Camp Ruston, Louisiana. U-505 towed 2,500 miles to Bermuda for inspection. Then to Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Importance extended beyond codes. Acoustic torpedoes represented cutting-edge German tech, passive homing on ship noise. Countermeasures like Foxer noisemakers still developing. Examining them aided Allied defenses. The intact hull revealed construction details, engine specs, pressure hull, strength data for future ASW weapons. This event stood alone. First U.S. high seas capture since 1815. One of 6 Allied U-boats. It bridged intelligence and direct action, showing how one bold decision could yield strategic gains without firing a shot in the boarding phase. As the tow began, the prize secured, but secrets still unfolding. The full weight of what had been achieved emerged from the Atlantic steps. June 4th, 1944, 11:10 hours. Atlantic swell rolling gently beneath a high sun. The Grumman Avenger from USS Guadalcanal dropped for Mark 54 depth charges set to 150 feet. Explosions bloomed white against blue water, columns of spray rising 50 feet. Seconds later, U-505 broke surface bow first, 800 yards off Pillsbury's starboard beam. Her hull glistened black, conning towers scarred, 88 millimeters deck, guns still trained forward. Oberleutnant Harold Lange shouted, "Abandon ship." Demolition charges were already set. Sea valves cracked open. 58 men poured out hatches, some wounded by the blasts, most leaping into oil-slicked water. The U-boat circled slowly to port, engines still turning at half speed, propellers thrashing foam. Captain Daniel Gallery, from Guadalcanal's bridge, saw the prize circling instead of sinking. He grabbed the TBS radio. Pillsbury, board and taker. Save that Submarine Lieutenant Albert David, the executive officer of Pillsbury, didn't hesitate. He assembled an 8-man boarding party. Chief Boatswain's Mate Jenks, Gunner's Mate WWII, Radioman Brown, and 5 others armed with Thompson submachine guns, .45 pistols, grenades, and bolt cutters. They launched a whaleboat, oars dipping fast across 400 yards of open sea. 1,115 hours. The whaleboat bumped against U-505's rolling hull. David leaped first, boots slipping on wet steel plates. The sub listed 10 degrees, water pouring from open vents. His men followed, scrambling up the saddle tanks. Smoke drifted from the conning tower hatch. The deck vibrated with dying engines. They cleared the bridge empty, except for bloodstains and discarded life jackets. David led down the ladder into the control room. Red battle lights glowed. Alarms wailed faintly. Water sloshed, knee-deep. Papers floated. Charts sodden. The first twist. The demolition charge. Gunner's Mate Dudoyak found the primer cord leading to scuttling charges in the engine room. He yanked wires, cut fuses with his knife seconds from detonation. No explosion came. Next, the sea valves. Men spread out. 1 to the forward torpedo room, 2 to the engine spaces. Others sealing hatches. They jammed rags into leaks, turned hand wheels against pressure. Portable gasoline pumps from Pillsbury roared across tow lines. Hoses snaked down hatches, sucking water out at 200 gallons a minute. 1,118 hours. David reached the radio room. There it sat. The Enigma machine, 4-rotor, naval model, rotors still inserted current daily settings. Beside it, codebooks stacked neatly. Short signal. Weather books. Officer cipher pads. Grid charts. Over 900 pounds of documents in watertight bags. Germany's naval communications lifeline. In the forward torpedo room, 2G7Es T5 acoustic torpedoes lay racked. 22-foot zinc-silver battery-powered fish. Hydrophone noses designed to home on escort propeller noise. These were the secret weapons Dunetz had promised on Kuneg. King of gnats, capable of turning the hunter-killer game against the hunters. The boarding party worked methodically. One man shut down the electric motors. Another secured the helm. Engines coughed to silence. Pillsbury passed a tow line. Guadalcanal maneuvered to shield the prize from potential U-boat attack. Air cover circled overhead Wildcats, scanning for periscopes. 1,125 hours. All valves closed, pumps gaining on the flood. U-505 stabilized, dead in the water. The boarding party secured the interior. Hatches dogged, compartments checked for hidden charges. They found no resistance, only abandoned personal effects. Photographs, letters, a half-eaten loaf of black bread. Heroics unfolded in silence. Seaman Ernest James, one of the youngest, dove into a flooding compartment to close a manifold, nearly trapped when a bulkhead door swung. He escaped, gasping. David remained calm, directing by hand signals over the din of pumps and alarms. No man faltered. They moved as one. Losses were light, but real. 3 Germans wounded during depth charging. 1 died later aboard Guadalcanal from shrapnel. The boarding party suffered none killed, though several bruised and cut from sharp edges and falls on tilting decks. By 1300 hours, tow secure. U-505 underway at 5 knots. Toward Bermuda, the prisoners, blindfolded and separated, were distributed among the escorts to prevent coordinated stories or suicide attempts. WWII ordered strict radio silence on the capture. Official logs recorded only sunk by depth charge and gunfire, a deception maintained for months. The haul proved immense. The Enigma and codebooks went straight to OP20G cryptonists in Washington. They confirmed shock key settings, revealed new short signal procedures, and helped track remaining wolf. The acoustic torpedoes were dissected at the Naval Research Laboratory. Hydrophone arrays, acoustic guidance, countermeasures tested against Foxer gear, insights accelerated Allied acoustic torpedo defenses, and influenced post-war sonar development. The captured tied-up resources 3 escorts detailed for tow guard but yielded intelligence worth divisions. Germany never learned of the boarding until after the war. Code changes came too late or not at all for the Atlantic. As the small convoy steamed west, the black hull of U-505 trailed behind like a captured ghost, her secrets spilling into Allied hands, one decoded message at a time. June 19, 1944, Bermuda Dockyard, U-5. 105 eased alongside undertow, still leaking slightly, despite constant pumping. Intelligence teams swarmed aboard. Naval constructors, cryptologists, torpedo experts. They photographed every compartment, cataloged every scrap of paper. The Enigma went to Bletchley Park liaisons. Codebooks 20P20G. Acoustic torpedoes were shipped stateside for live-fire tests against dummy escorts. The climax had already passed on June 4th, the boarding. The disarming, destabilization, but the real victory unfolded in the months that followed. The captured materials filled gaps in ultra-intelligence. From July onward, more U-boat position reports were decrypted. In near real time, hunter-killer groups adjusted patrols based on fresh grid data. By late 1944, U-boat effectiveness plummeted further. Sinkings dropped to under 100,000 tons monthly. Resolution came quietly. U-505 was repaired enough for transit to Portsmouth, New Hampshire, then to the Philadelphia Navy Yard. She served as a training hulk for anti-submarine tactics until 1946. Post-WWII promoted to Rear Admiral fought to preserve her as a museum. In 1954, she was donated to the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago, where she remains today, the only Type 9 U-boat on public display. The men of the boarding party received recognition. Lieutenant Albert David was awarded the Medal of Honor, the only one given for action in the Atlantic. Theater citation reading. By his inspiring leadership, initiative, and valor in hazardous service, he prevented the scuttling of the submarine and preserved it for intelligence purposes. Others received Navy crosses, Silver Stars. Silver Stars. The lesson etched in salt and steel. Audacity can seize what destruction cannot. WWII's decision to board instead of sink turned a tactical kill into a strategic windfall. It showed that in intelligence warfare, capturing the mind of the enemy codes, weapons, tactics good, outweigh sinking his hulls. The acoustic torpedo threat, once a looming nightmare for escorts, was neutralized faster because the devices were examined intact. Enigma's secrets accelerated the unraveling of naval communications at a moment when every convoy mattered. U-505's capture stood unique. No other U-boat taken intact at sea by Americans during the war. It bridged direct action and hidden war, proving one bold boarding could echo across battlefields far beyond the horizon where it happened. The Atlantic grew quieter after that summer. U-boats still sailed, but the balance had shifted irreversibly. A Sunday morning gamble on a circling black hole had helped tip it. September 1945, Portsmouth Navy Yard, New Hampshire. U-505 rested in dry dock. Her black hull stripped of camouflage paint, hatches open to the autumn air. Technicians swarmed the interior one last time, removing the last crates of documents and equipment before she was towed to her post-war home. The war had ended months earlier with Japan's surrender. The Atlantic convoys no longer sailed under constant threat. The secrets pulled from her compartments over 900 pounds of codebooks. The four-rotor Enigma with current settings. The two acoustic homing torpedoes had already done their work in silence. They fed into the vast machinery of Allied intelligence. Cryptanalysts at OP-20G and Bletchley Park unlocked fresh traffic. Hunter-killer groups suggested patrols with pinpoint accuracy. Torpedo countermeasures evolved to blunt the Zonkuneg threat. The capture's impact rippled quietly. From mid-1944 onward, decrypted U-boat messages arrived faster and more reliably. Wolfpack rendezvous points appeared on plotting tables before boats could assemble. Escort losses dropped as acoustic torpedoes were countered with improved Foxer gear and evasive maneuvers. The intelligence haul from U-505 did not win the Battle of the Atlantic alone. Air cover, hedgehogs, and code-breaking had already shifted momentum, but it accelerated the endgame at a moment when every week counted. Recognition came measured and restrained. Lieutenant Albert David received the Medal of Honor on May 18, 1945. From President Harry S. Truman, the only such award for Atlantic anti-submarine action. His citation praised extraordinary heroism in boarding a flooding, potentially explosive vessel to preserve it for intelligence value. Other boarding party members earned Navy Crosses and Silver Stars. Captain Daniel V. Gallery, who had made the call to board rather than sink, was promoted to Rear Admiral and later wrote of the event in his memoir, but always emphasized the team effort over personal glory. U-505 herself became a silent witness. After serving as a training hulk, she was donated in 1954 to the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. Today she sits indoors, preserved as the only Type IXC U-boat on public display anywhere in the world. Visitors walk her narrow passages, see the Enigma replica in the radio room, peer into the forward torpedo room where the acoustic weapons once lay racked. School children pressed noses to glass cases holding faded codebooks. Veterans pause at the conning tower ladder David once descended. The numbers are stark. U-505 had sunk 8 ships before her capture. Her secrets helped prevent dozens more losses in the final year of the Atlantic War. The boarding party 8 men with hand tools and nerve changed the trajectory of intelligence collection at sea. No other U-boat was taken intact by American forces during the conflict. This one stood alone. Yet the deeper story lies beyond statistics. It is the sound of pumps straining against rising water, the flicker of red battle lights on sweating faces, the moment when a scuttling charge was disarmed by a knife blade in steady hands. It is the decision, in the heat of contact, to risk lives for knowledge rather than destruction. That Choisy Galari's order, David's leap onto the deck, proved that in a war of machines and shadows, human boldness could seize what firepower could only destroy. The Atlantic is calm now. The U-boat menace belongs to history books and museum halls. But in the quiet corridors of U-505, the echo remains. Sometimes the greatest victory is not in sinking the enemy, but in taking him alive and learning everything he knows. I've just said what's recorded in history. You should find out the real truth yourself. We have written the sources from which we got this story in the description of this video, and we have always been and will be supporters of the oppressed, regardless of their color, race, or country. This world and its creator are also with the oppressed. If the daring capture of U-505 gripped you, smash that like button. Drop your thoughts in the comments about other secret hulls from World War II, and subscribe for more forgotten stories pulled from the depths of the war. See you in the next WW2 story.